let's see if this will work.
So it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. And I'm really just going to jump straight into the products that Dwarvin offers, which are, of course, lighting without wiring. And that's our first product, was the Lamp Lighter 1, which you see there, into which you plug the fibers. And the idea really is conceptually very, very simple. All we do is take the lamp lighter, take a fiber, drill a hole, run it up into a building, you've got light. Take a light, alternative, a lamp, say, and you can run that down, the fiber down, into the lamp lighter. It couldn't be simpler. In fact, that's what I discovered from my own layout. So here's one of our lamps, perched over the top of a Rolls Royce. Naturally, I had to have a Rolls Royce. I've given up thinking about owning one of those now, so this is probably as far as I'm ever going to get. And here you can see it actually in situ with some of the buildings lit around there, some of the swan neck lamps. There's a roundabout there, all the normal things, and an English crossing gate as well. A little bit closer and you can get a better idea of the focus of this light onto the roadway. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a moment. Well, you know, it's really great to just add lighting where you want. So you can see those guys in the picture there, they're digging on a road. And of course, we're always digging roads up and filling them in. That seems to be what goes on all the time, much to motorists' annoyance. But when I didn't have a light there, nobody really noticed it. But as soon as I popped a little light on there, boing, it really popped out. Of course, there's a little mini miner there with a light shining on it. But you'll notice that, in fact, for the light, it's really a nice conical, about a 40-degree spread on that beam, unlike an LED, which is more typically about 135-degree spread. Now, I took some of these around to one of my friends in the area, and Al Judy, and he actually took some of them, rusted them up, made them look older, and put them on his scenery. So that was rather fun. Well, of course, I had to have somebody to make these, and there's one of our dwarves. He's the youngest, Benjamin, and there he is making a set of swan neck lamps, and those are the ones that are around on quite a lot of layouts around the world now. Well, one of the things I do like is an English pub. And so I built one from scratch, just out of my own mind and so on. But I obviously wanted to put a whole load of lighting into it. So I did that. And I wanted to put some lighting up into the trees because I love that sort of fairy lighting feel. And there we are, small fibers, just poke them up into a tree, very simple. But I also wanted to have some lighting on the underneath the umbrellas. So there was lighting on the tables. And again, very easy, just put a fiber up there and I've got lighting. So that's the product that we came up with. And my second oldest grandson, or youngest grandson, I should say, is David. And he does all the manufacturing now of those lamp lighter boxes. And so I thank him. He's one of our dwarves, as we call him. Paul McCarty, N-Scaler, sent me some images, really nice scenery there. And I love this one. There's a guy reading his newspaper underneath the light just outside the library. And this is an interesting scene, I think you'd admit. Paul's actually worked on some moon lighting so that he's really got sort of an ethereal effect there. It's very, very interesting. Looks like a Thomas Kincaid type of painting to me. Well, I got enthused recently to do some work on my own layout. I rarely get any time to do that. So I decided to put in some of the globe lamps along the waterfront. And then I just put some lighting into those cars. And it turned out to be a very, very simple job. And the rear of those, I put 4 lights into the rear lights of that car and just painted them red. And there we go. Well, in April, I was very grateful that Cody had put together a 2-page spread in that magazine where he'd taken some lights that had been installed but had never been lit, and he just pulled them out and put in some of the Dwarvin lamps. And again, very, very quickly, which sort of demonstrated to him as well as others how quickly you can put lights in. Right, I'd like to show you something about lighting a church. So here's the church, and if I take that up, what we've got are 3 fibers, 1 millimeter fibers coming up. We've actually got some coffee stirrers stuck in there so as to keep the fibers fairly straight, and you can see it's very easy to move them in and out of there. On the church itself, we've put some foil on the bottom, on the roof rather of it, and also where we've got the windows, we've actually coated those so you can't see through the plastic. That's a typical problem with many of the models around. So the plastic tends to be rather thin. Of course, there's some gravestones attached to the side. Well, we'll put them back down so they can enjoy me sitting down there. And then we've got the effect of, the light on there. Now, one of the things you will notice is, in fact, that there's quite a bit of light on the front of this church, and it's really coming from this little light down here. In fact, if I put my finger over there, you can see the effect of that. Now you can see that's quite attractive. So here is our lamplighter product range. For the application, we need a light source with a very high intensity designed to feed that light into the fibers. So on the left-hand side is the lamplighter 1. Next is the lamplighter 2 that holds double the number of fibers and is brighter. Then we have double the brightness in our lamplighter 2S, the supermodel. We are just introducing the lamplighter flashing animation unit. So you can now animate your layout together with illumination from the lamplighter 1 or 2. So let's switch gears now and move from illuminating buildings and streets and objects to animation, to the lamplighter FL unit. Unique feature of the lamplighter FL is its ability to turn on and off individual optical fibers. So we can have either flashing or blinking lights. So now let's take a moment to look at the electrical connections to the lamplighter flasher unit. Your lamplighter has on its right-hand side a section for detecting trigger inputs. And so, in fact, here it is. You can see there are 8 individual detector inputs that are on the side, on the right-hand side of your lamplighter FL. And you can use a number of different ways to connect into this. You can actually use just wires with JST plugs on them. That's going to require you to do some soldering, which is fine. An alternative, though, is to be able to use this 8-port detector terminal block. Here you can just screw the wires directly into the terminal block, and then all you need to do is that then gets inserted into the lamplighter FL, and those become the trigger inputs, the lower one being number 1, and the top being number 8. There's also a 4-port power terminal block that is used to provide power to the sensors you may be using. That then provides voltage for the sensors, and that plugs into the left-hand side of the lamplighter FL. And that's shown more clearly now, as you can see, with some wires connected into it next to the voltage input plug for the actual lamplighter FL. Useful to take a look at how this looks in terms of a wiring diagram. So here we go. So here is the lamplighter flasher unit attached to 2 signal crossings and 2 detectors. The detectors connect to the power on the left-hand side of the unit and are wired into the right-hand side to trigger it. Well, and if you want to add sound, just wire it up the same way as the detectors. So you've seen the unit flashing. Now you can see it blinking on the tall building as an aircraft warning light. So I'd like to show you how to hook up your lamplighter flasher unit to your digital command control on your layout. The first thing we need to do is just connect the wires from your DCC on your layout to the lamplighter flasher unit as shown by that red arrow. The next thing is we're going to go to the control module, and it's set for 03, which is the typical address of an engine that you've just bought, and it's the default address for the lamplighter flasher unit. So we're going to use that to control the lamplighter flasher, and what we're going to do then is use some of the keys to turn the lights on or off. So that's what I'm going to do with my thumb, as you will see. So the light is off in that building. Press the button and the light goes on. Press it again, goes off. Press it again, back on. Very, very simple to do. Here is our packaging for the railroad crossing, and this is what you receive if you buy it from us. Of a railroad crossing, putting the fibers into the layout and then just pushing the shaft down into the 1/8 inch hole that's drilled for the HO railroad crossing. So seating that down in there. Next, we need to attach the fiber pins. We do that by just pushing those onto the fibers, like so. And then those get inserted into the lamplighter flasher unit. So I have installed a detector, and we turn that on, and you can see the railroad flashers come on, as well as the bell sounding. So here is a side-on detector and a little housing that we've made for it, which just slides over the top of the detector to hide it when it's mounted onto the layout. And here it is mounted beside the track. Well, let's take the cover off it, and there it is, just shown being mounted there. And again, there's the cover. It really looks like a sort of a pillbox, electrical outlet, if you like, or electrical box, and that just slides over the top and hides it. So here we have a vertical detector. Notice the sensors are right on the end of it, pointing up, and that gets mounted underneath the track right there. And that's what we actually saw earlier on. So now let's see what happens when we get a train moving ahead in front of the sensors. So here we go. You see the small sensor there? Yep, okay. And the crossing is on. So it's a very simple system to put together, very simple to wire up, and should be very straightforward for you to work with. So now I have to let you in of a little secret. And there it is. There's the ding dong, as I call it. That's the soundboard that's hidden away just there. So I just put it in underneath one of the houses. Yeah. So thank you to all you Trainfest visitors. And as a special thank you, we'd like to offer you a 10% discount for the next week so that you can enjoy lighting without wiring from Dwarvin Enterprises. Enjoy the rest of the program. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Go to Dwarvin, that's DWARVIN.shop/Trainfest, all one word. Thank you. Okay, well, that's about it from there. I'm open to